Here's my message to Americans, and I'm an American, just so you know, if that isn't obvious already. Um, please stop falling for propaganda. And a lot of people might think that I'm here talking about conservatives. I'm not. I'm talking about human beings, American citizens. On both sides of the aisle, people think that politicians have our best interest at heart. As it turns out, that's not necessarily the case. They may even have the best intentions at heart to do the best thing. But we can't forget that they are just people. The same way that people have idolized certain celebrities and find out that they're horrible fucking people, right? Politicians have done the same shit. And when I was growing up, I remember when Bill Clinton ran, and I remember the controversy surrounding Monica Lewinsky, and the president got ahead. That was the biggest controversy back then. Yeah, it was a little fucked up, but was it really the biggest issue? The worst thing a person could do? There's a president's personal life, and then there's a president's political life and the things they do. If I'm not mistaken, under Clinton, the national deficit was brought down to like zero, like the lowest it's ever been, as far as I know. I don't recall the specifics, but I know that, you know, it quickly became, let's just say it jumped up quickly again after that. And the amount of wars and bullshit we've spent money on in this country, the amount of, you know, waste that we have in our bureaucracy is astounding. And not just the waste on accident, but the waste on purpose. The horrible programs that make no sense, the government that just creates itself basically to exist. But there are certain programs that we truly need in this world and that should not be stepped on. I'm not going to sit here and determine what those are. I would just say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and remember that no matter who you vote for, no matter who you support, honestly, I don't support any of them because I don't believe in wealthy people in power. Something our forefathers warned against, something that, if we want to preserve our Constitution, we need to give a shit. Not just give a shit about who's in office, but rather what is actually taking place. We have to be able to look at any situation neutrally, and I've found that that's impossible. For most people, it's impossible. I consider myself a middle of the road guy, a balanced view, that I try to be rational. I try to see faults in every side, maybe a little cynical at times, but skeptical always. And I just wanted to say that as long as we're divided and we don't see the important issues, we're never going to accomplish anything meaningful in this country again. And there were times when America had come together, times when we were close. I mean, I hate to bring up World War II as an example, but when the shit really hits the fan, Americans got together, turned factories into, grow hemp for the war, make weapons in your factories, tanks. These things were horrendous. They caused mass devastation. But retrospectively, looking at what was going on in the world, we could see that there was one nation that had a fucking wild, crazy leader, Hitler, and he was trying to take over everything. And therefore, we stepped in because our toes were stepped on. I mean, Japan definitely lended, a reason to enter the war. But let's just say the U.S. remained neutral as long as possible. We are very proactive in war now. I remember when we started 9/11, and I was sitting at the bar my friend was a bartender, and 9/11 started, and they were showing the quote shock and awe campaign back in 2002 or 3, I think. And I looked at my buddy and I was like, because his brother was in the military at the time. So he had preconceived notion that the military had to succeed. And I told him, this war is going to be our next Vietnam. And he said, this will be over in a week. 17 years later, 20 years later, Afghanistan, it was a complete disaster. The whole thing, Iraq, Afghanistan, the power vacuum we left in the Middle East. And at the time, conservatives were extremely supportive of what was going on. But as we found out, it was all based on lies. So all I want to say is that no matter who's in office, they're going to be lying to you. They're going to be telling you what you want to hear. And to sort through it, if you have a discussion with somebody about politics, all they're going to say is you're misinformed, or you're watching too much mainstream media, or you're watching too much alternative media, whatever suits the needs of the individual. We have to be able to look at these things rationally and honestly without prejudice, and that is one of the hardest things. I'm still developing the ability to look at things without bias. I don't get emotionally attached to politics, so I like to talk about them because I'm not really wrapped up in what happens in the world. You know why? Because there's part of me that hopes the whole thing fucking falls apart. Since I was like 15 years old, I've had this just secret desire for the whole system to destruct and implode. Maybe that's very immature, but it has matured with me over the last 30 years. So I would say that it has gained some wisdom. There is something to be said about starting over. And I know that it would cost a lot of pain. And therefore, I don't really, these days, I realize how wrapped up we are in technology. The internet has allowed us to believe whatever we want. And we also have, let's just say, a strange future ahead of us. So, with that said, we'll see what happens. Just don't hate your neighbor over politics. If you have friends and family that have different opinions, just let it go. The shit will pass. These things don't matter as much as our community. Our community matters. Even if you're a viewer of mine and you're a Trump supporter, I love you, man. I mean, I have nothing against you. You can support whatever you want. One of my best friends is a Trump supporter, and I talked to him just like 10 minutes ago. And we were debating, Elon Musk being in the federal, database, and we are still friends. We'll still hang out. We can get past that. We need to realize that people are people. Most people want the same thing. They want a comfortable community and society for them, their children, and their grandchildren. There's a few bridge burners out there, and a few accelerationists, the ones who want to destroy society. I don't. I'm just watching it unfold, with trying not to be wrapped up emotionally whatsoever in it. But when you post about it, you comment about it, you make a video about it, people think you're all wrapped up in it, like you're all angry about politics. I'm definitely not. I have a good time with it. It's fun because I'm not going to live my life worrying about what's going on out there. I got enough shit going on in here and in here. So, much love to you all, and I hope the message comes across that this ain't about who's right or wrong. This is about all of us feeling like we're part of this society. So, talk to you next time.